Hello. Okay, welcome back. So now we are working on our tick marks. I'm going to show you one sheet at a time how to do this. We're going to start with actually, let's start with the long side. Okay, we're going to start with the long side. So I'm going to put this strip just shy of the outside edge so that I have a little bit of margin to make my marks. The paper might seem like it's just slightly longer. That's because the canvas curves over to make that dimension. So you can curve it over just slightly on both sides. And then try and keep it laying flat as you go across and make marks. So I'm gonna see exactly where that first crease is, and I'm gonna make just a little tick mark. I'm gonna do the same right here. And then I'm going to kind of inchworm my finger over and make the next mark. Again, just kind of making sure since it's folded, it's gonna have a little bit of give to it, or it's gonna wanna kind of lift up, So I'm going to try and keep it exactly where it is. Tick mark, oop, just a little bit, wrong spot, okay. Coming over here, always being mindful, not applying too much pressure to your canvas or else it will press in and kind of keep a memory of that, which is not really what you want. Okay, so I have my tick marks on that side. Not sure how well you can see them, but see that one right there? That's all you need, just a little indication of where you are working. Okay. And coming over on the other side, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. So I'm gonna bring this piece of paper over here, just shy of this outside edge, making sure it is even, starting on one side, smoothing it down as I go, making just a little hatch mark at each one. If I make a slanted mark, I'm just going to make a little V so it points to exactly where the line is. Okay, and there are my tick marks for my two long sides. So I could go ahead and connect these, and I think I will just so you see where we're headed. You can also just make all of your tick marks first and then connect all of your lines for your grid. So I'm going to zoom out and make sure you can really see. So I'm going to place my ruler really carefully so that it is just shy of both tick marks on either side. And when I go to trace this first line, a few reminders. Number one, do not use very much pressure. So be light on this pencil. If you make a really firm dark mark and you try to erase it, you're going to be pressing so hard into the canvas that it's going to make a permanent divot and dip that no amount of paint will be able to cover up. It will just look like a little valley in the middle of your painting. So unless you want to do that intentionally, don't do that. So you can stay away from doing that by making really light marks to begin with, that if you had to erase, you could do so with very little pressure, and hopefully you won't even need to erase. So also acrylic paint still has some transparency to it. So if you want to be able to paint without using gobs and gobs of paint, it is a good idea to go light from the beginning. So can you even see that on the camera? Sorry. Can you see that line? There it is, nice and light, right? Nice and light. What you're seeing on the canvas, this is a recycled canvas, so I took someone's painting who didn't want it last year, told me they would like for me to paint over it, and I adjusted over it. So that's little bits of texture coming through their canvas. So there is my first line that's going to make my grid. I'm gonna keep working on this, so attaching from one side to the other. When I make these lines also, I'm thinking about holding my pencil straight up and down. If I go at an angle this way, it's going to make a slightly different measurement than if I go with my pencil at this angle. So I'm going to think about keeping it just straight up and down every single time I make my line. Again, thinking about having very little pressure, just enough so I'll be able to see the grid later. Whoa, and that one went way off. I don't even know what happened. So let's see. Let's test it. Did I draw light enough to be able to barely press in? Yes, that's good news. And even if I drew heavily, it might be a good idea to not try and erase and just be okay with having two lines that are showing up and trying to just remember what the right line is. Okay, let's see. I don't know what happened there, but I see my tick mark here, and I see my tick mark there, so let's try this again. Okay, now we're in the clear. Coming to the next one. Marks disappeared there a little in the middle. So I'm gonna go back through with my ruler still where it is. That looks good. So this might be a good time just to eyeball your rectangles and see if they seem like they are about the same size. If they seem like they're off at all, now is a good time to pause, double check, see where you might have gone wrong. Okay, so again, I am just barely touching the canvas with this pencil, and that's really gonna help me in the long run. Okay, so now I have all of my long lines, which is amazing. So now I'm going to come through on my short side. I'm going to do the same thing I did that first time with making tick marks. So I'm going to place this paper on the edge, evenly distributed between the two sides, make my first mark right where that fold is, inchworm my hand down, make the next inchworm down. And that is good. I'm going to come to the other side. Once you get gridding down, it can go really pretty quickly, but it's okay if it takes a lot of time your first time. It's better to double and triple check your first times through to make sure you're getting everything in the right proportion. Okay, now I get to connect. That mark very soft. Is that right? Is that where it is? I'm gonna double check that one. I'm second guessing myself, so I'm gonna go ahead and just double check. Okay. Looks like I'm pretty good. Just gonna clarify that line for myself so I know exactly where that should be. Line number 1. I'm eyeballing, making sure these look like they're about the same size. Line number 3. So when I'm lining these up, I want my pencil to fall exactly on my tick mark when I'm on this side and on this side. So think about that when you go to start your line. Try and make sure your pencil is dropping down exactly where that tick mark is. So it's not outside or inside of that. Okay, amazing, and there's my grid. So I have 1-to-1 this and my reference image, which fell off. But this and my reference image, this box corresponds to this box corresponds to this box. So what is here will be right here, or will be right here every single time. If I go to draw it, it will be right here. So that is what's comforting about having a grid to work from. You have so much more kind of backup behind your ideas. So from here, you think about positive and negative space. You draw not only my edge of the hat, but the shape of the little white space in this little corner. That's gonna help me define all of those little things, okay? Way to go, y'all. Good luck.